want to introduce and bring up Barry from the Elliot Group. Barry, how's it going? Thanks so much for being a part of this and helping putting this together.
Michael, thank you. Thank you and Entre for partnering with us. We're very excited for this amazing panel tonight. Thank you to your team. Thank you to all of our illustrious panelists. Very, very grateful for you guys taking the time and telling us about yourselves and your brands. And thank you to everyone in the audience. Really excited to meet you and thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we were able to do this. I mean, the speakers that we have tonight, we got some heavy hitters, and it's going to be a really, really fun conversation. And I'm excited to dive into it. Barry, do you want to start just sharing a little bit more about, your background and then what you guys do at the Elliot Group? So for people who aren't aware.
Happy to. Hi, everybody. My name is Barry Herbst. I'm from Westchester County, New York. Shout out to the 914. I graduated from the University of Delaware in 2011 with a major in hotel restaurant management, Spanish minor, self-taught in Portuguese, which is cool as well. I'm a big foodie. After college, I went into the real estate business like many people do who have no idea what they want to do out of college professionally. I was with Brown Harris Stevens, based in New York City, a white glove residential firm, selling condos and co-ops, big ticket items, as well as doing rentals of all sizes. About 4 years ago, I joined the Elliot Group. I am a VP, very proud vice president. I co-lead our business development and client relations team with my colleague, Liz Brewster. I think she's watching. Hi, Liz. The Elliot Group, we partner and work with exciting and innovative brands that are looking for future human capital and the incredible leadership to take their brands to the next level. So we work with brands in the consumer space and technology worlds, ranging from public companies, restaurant groups, health, wellness, and fitness brands, as well as emerging growth concepts doing incredible things in their industry, from tech companies, CPG, retail, health, wellness, fitness, cannabis, and as well as, of course, hospitality. After 35 years in business, 35 plus years in business, hospitality has been the cornerstone of our amazing company. We are blessed to have an amazing team of 40 people throughout the United States, from New York, where I currently am in Midtown Manhattan, to our headquarters in Tarrytown, New York, to Atlanta, Georgia, San Francisco, Denver, Colorado, as well as colleagues in Oregon, Florida, and all over the country. So it's great to be here with all of you. Just want to say thank you to Michael again, to the Entre team, and want to welcome our amazing panelists. Would love all of you to please introduce yourselves, give a background on yourself, tell us your brand. And let's start off, ladies first, with Christine, PathSpot.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you all today. My name's Christine, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of PathSpot. I actually started my career in the healthcare space. I'm a biomedical engineer by background and started out in the research world, was working and living in the developing world, building low-cost medical tools and technologies for obviously pretty resource-constricted settings there, mostly in the Kilimanjaro region. And when I got back to the US, I started to see all of these public health issues here domestically that I felt like we needed more solutions to solve. And one of them at the time was this huge issue around foodborne illness. And as it turns out now, I'm sure many of you are spending a lot of time thinking about this problem of hand washing. So I invented a solution that scans hands to verify that hands are cleaned frequently and effectively. We're using it across the hospitality space today, and I'm excited to talk to you more about that throughout this panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. Let's kick it over to who is next. Corey, Manicone of Zul.
Yes, thank you, Barry, and thanks again for having me. I'm truly honored to be on this panel with everyone. Corey Manicone, co-founder and CEO of Zul. We're New York's ghost kitchen operator. I actually grew up in the industry. My parents owned restaurants in IHOP, actually. So outside of eating more pancakes than I probably care to admit my earliest memories are truly, busting tables and mopping floors at a restaurant. Was incredibly fortunate in 2015 to be the first employee at a startup here in New York called Relay Delivery, which ultimately my 3 short years there helped go from about 50 deliveries a day to 20,000. Had a front row seat to really see the kind of the behavioral shift happening amongst consumers, and had really a light bulb moment, if you will, that the real estate infrastructure was never built with intent of supporting off-premise dining. So the idea was to very thoughtfully and strategically design a piece of real estate that truly optimized for delivery, bring some of New York City's heaviest hitting brands under one roof, and collectively operate simultaneously side by side in a delivery only capacity.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Let's go to Greg Zamfotis, Gregory's Coffee. How you doing, Greg?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Barry and Michael, for hosting and inviting me to be a part of this. Greg Zamfotis, the founder and CEO of Gregory's Coffee. So based in New York City, specialty coffee company. And I guess similar to Corey, I grew up in the food business as well. So my father owned and operated fast casual restaurants in the New York City area my entire life. And, I went from swatting flies when I was 3, shaving carrots when I was 5. I think he had me on deliveries when I was 7. I have a 5-year-old son now, and I can't imagine sending him on deliveries, but my father thought it was a good idea back then. And went to school for something entirely different. I thought I would go into professional banking, whatnot. But after many years in school, many internships, I kind of kept coming back to my calling, which was the food and beverage space. So in 2006, founded Gregory's Coffee with the help of my father, but really just kind of blending quality and quantity. So it seems crazy now in New York, especially, there's so much coffee, but 15, 16 years ago, it was really Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, lots of delis, cart coffees, and anytime you wanted something special, you had to go to the outskirts of town or Brooklyn or whatnot. So my father's businesses were always in Financial District or Midtown, right down the pipe. So I took that mantra and just kind of rolled out our store or our concept right in the middle of town where most people were doing their day-to-days. And I wouldn't say it was a hit from the start, but as more and more people were getting acclimated to the brand, it really picked up. And now we've got over 30 units across New York, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C. And, excited to keep growing despite this era of COVID, I guess.
Thank you, Greg. And Greg just welcomed Hugo into the world, Greg's 3rd child. Congratulations to Greg.
Congrats, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm in DC, so mom is handling the freight tonight. I'm alone in the hotel room and get some good sleep tonight.
Amazing.
Much needed. Let's welcome Alan Phillips of Reef.
Hi, guys. How are you? Thank you for having me. My name is Alan Phillips. I am the Chief Creative Officer of Reef Technology based in Miami. I started out, I'm a hospitality lifer, the standard Italian grandmother teaching you how to cook, official pasta taster. I started my career under Wolfgang Puck doing a culinary stage at the original Spago on Sunset in Los Angeles. From there, I worked for the Myriad Restaurant Group and for the start of what became the Tao Group in terms of helping them get off the ground. That was really my first startup experience. From there, I had a consulting firm for 13 years, helping multi-unit operators expand to different marketplaces. And in 2008, I went from having my best year ever to having no clients. And so I decided, the first thing people cut in financial crisis are consultants and marketing. So I decided I wanted to do something that was a pure representation of my passion and what I loved. So I ended up doing pop-up restaurants. And for a year of my life, I became Mr. Pop-Up all over the country, but mostly in New York. And I ended up doing one at the Rivington Hotel where I ended up getting the management agreement for food and beverage at that hotel. I opened a restaurant there called Co-op Food and Drink, and another one called a mezcal bar called Victor and Spoils. From there, I went on to I sold my interest in the restaurant and became the VP of food and beverage for Morgan's Hotel Group, which was kind of a lifelong dream of mine, being a huge Ian Schrager fan. That was, an extraordinary experience. Morgan's only had 13 hotels, but was on every continent in the world. So we went from running one hotel to running lots more, and then was promoted to be the chief marketing officer of Morgan's. From there, I went on to be the SVP of brand and experience at a little known startup called WeWork. Not needless to say that that was an experience, but probably one of the defining experiences of my life. From there, after WeWork, I became the CMO of a company called Turnberry. Then I helped build a STR startup called Mint House. And now I am at Reef, which I've been at for almost a year. And it has been an incredible ride, an incredible experience, kind of bringing together all of the things that I love to do in one sort of massive, fast-moving adventure. And just on a side note, when I have extra time, I'm a writer as well and a podcaster. I wrote a book called The Age of Ideas and The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Food Truck Business. And I have two beautiful children, River, who's 5, Teddy, who's 4, and my wife, Gelleret, is a great person, fashion designer. And now you know everything about me, so I can leave.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you to everyone. So obviously we're talking about the future of hospitality. Obviously everyone defines hospitality in such a different way. We all have amazing memories.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to thank you everyone for the intros. And before we kick off the panel, I just wanted to let everyone know that we will be doing a Q&A, kind of probably, let me just check the time. Yeah, probably around 7:00. So if you have questions for the panelists or any topics or anything you want to ask, either just throw it in the chat or private message me directly in the chat. And I'll come back on around 7 when the panel kind of wraps up, and we'll take some questions from the audience too. I just want to make sure people knew that, Barry, before he kicked off. And yeah, I'm super stoked for this. This is going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. So look, everyone has different definition, a different experience of the word hospitality. There's no one single one size fits all definition. So, whether it's growing up with our memories, et cetera, of hospitality or our experiences, I'd love to ask you, Alan, let's start with you first. What is your definition of hospitality and why is it important to you? Why is it important to Reef?
Where Danny Meyer talks a lot about the 51 percenters, right? I know it's a little cliche to bring up Danny, but he talks about the 51 percenters. And I had a mentor, or have a mentor, a guy named Michael Bonadies. Some of you may know him. He was one of the founders of Myriad Restaurant Group. And what has been defining of my relationship with Michael is that he is one of the most emotionally generous people I have ever encountered. Meaning when times were good and I was, using him as a consultant, he was there for me. When times were bad, he was there for me more. He always putting my needs ahead of his. And that's really how you engender trust. And I think the difference with hospitality people and hospitality in general is that they're putting the needs of another ahead of their own and really giving genuine, authentic, love and something of themselves to other people. So that's what hospitality means to me. And I think to Reef, it really means being the enabler. We're not looking to be the star of the show. We're looking to unlock the value of creative capital with some of the most talented culinarians, craftspeople, and all the different other types of people who are in the culinary and kitchen and service business. So for me, I think for us, it's the enabler from a business perspective, really helping other people succeed especially during these wild times when the models are changing so quickly and fiercely.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Greg, what about you?
I guess I like to think of hospitality as this sort of welcoming community, family feel. Like we want people to feel like they're a part of something, and it's not just a transaction. It's a mini relationship in a certain sense. And it's like, how would you treat somebody you care about, as opposed to here's money and here's some coffee, or here's a pastry, or whatever it might be. I think it's kind of transcending that feel from transactional to somewhat emotional, and treating people like people. And I think getting that message across to the team, and obviously translating that to the people that you're dealing with, is sort of making that warm, friendly family feel in an environment that's kind of based around a transaction, but escaping that sort of stiff calculus there. We want people to feel emotion when it comes to their experience. And when you get to that, then it's like all those little things, like, the Danny Meyer stuff, how do you take people and make them feel special, turns lemons into lemonade, and just kind of differentiate yourself beyond product, and make people feel part of a community and something special.
I love that. Thank you, Greg. Corey, how do you define hospitality? Why is it important to you and to Zul?
Yeah, it's a great question. And a lot of what Greg just said certainly resonated with me, and just in terms of community and how folks feel. When you take a step back and look at our mission at Zul, it's to help people thrive in the business of food. When you look at the restaurant industry, it's incredibly archaic. It's incredibly challenging. There's so many aspects of it that you absolutely need to nail. And if you don't, it could be life or death for the restaurant. As such, because we, house multiple brands under one roof, it truly gives us an opportunity to kind of curate a better experience or a better culture for the entire ecosystem, from the cooks in the kitchen to the couriers. Dating back to my relay days, I've done 100, if not hundreds, or if not thousands of deliveries in this town. And it's a fairly poor experience, whether it's raining or you're dodging an Uber, or the restaurant doesn't have the food ready, to trying to get past a doorman. And it's those experiences that have resonated with me. And you look at our facilities, we offer coffee, water, and tea to the couriers, and we build charging ports to make sure that their phone is charged. So really, it's allowing us to really take a hospitable stance throughout the entire ecosystem. And I think that resonates on people's day-to-day work. It's incredibly important to us.
Thank you, Corey. And I totally agree that the couriers and delivery people really are the unsung heroes of New York City, especially in our crazy city. Christine,
True.
would love to hear from you as well.
I think my favorite thing about being in hospitality is seeing all the opportunities that brands go through to go above and beyond, to really listen to the customer and create those above and beyond magic moments and experiences. I think how we view our brand playing into that is that those moments are really difficult to have happen if the customers or the employees don't feel safe. And so we really focus on how we can create those underlying safety mechanisms and create that culture of safety and cleanliness across the organizations that we work with, so that all the hospitality aspects can come from that baseline.
Awesome, thank you. So Christine, to you, please tell us, what has PathSpot created? And tell us a little bit more about that culture of cleanliness. What does that really mean? And why is that so critical for our industry, for the hospitality world?
Yeah, absolutely. So PathSpot is a system that protects food service organizations from the threat of, dangerous invisible illnesses by making sure that hands are cleaned frequently and effectively across establishments. And the way that it works is it mounts on the wall next to hand washing sinks in the back of house of restaurants, farms, packaging facilities, cafeterias, really anywhere where food is handled, stored, or served. And right after a team member washes their hands, they put them underneath the device, flip them over, and it instantly pops up on a screen and tells them if they have dangerous contaminants that could make someone sick that are completely invisible. And the whole thing takes less than 2 seconds. And then we take all the data from those hand washes and we give it to management teams. So they're able to go online and see who's washing their hands and when and how effectively, and use that to really inform a best practice and culture around food safety and sanitation across an establishment. I think what we really look at and that culture of cleanliness, it's really difficult. You know, there's so many different rewards and recognition programs across different establishments, but right now more than ever, people are looking for those indicators of how do I make sure that I'm safe? How do I make sure that the people around me are safe? And it's important to celebrate that too, especially as people have a lot of anxiety around safety and sanitation. And so what we really do is try to take that data and create a mechanism for success and reward and celebration around something as simple as hand washing. You know, that's the unifying factor. There's so many different safety mechanisms that different team members play into, but everybody washes their hands. And it's incredibly important to be able to use that as a unifying mechanism. So we will have hand washers of the week or hand washing location of the month and celebrations across the different units that are communicated not only to employees internally and to leadership, but also to the consumers themselves, to let them know that hand washing and sanitation is something that's taken so seriously, but also something that is really incentivized, encouraged, and at the backbone of the day-to-day operations.
Thank you, Christine. You know, obviously, I mean, culture is critical, especially for all of our panelist brands and companies here, because look, culture, as we all know, is that heartbeat of an organization. It's that differentiating factor between company A and company B. So Christine, I just want to ask you a quick follow-up. Your business, the first iteration of your technology was not a hand scanner. I think as you were doing some R&D, it was, can you maybe tell us about, was it a dinner plate? Can you maybe share with us a little bit more about that?
As I mentioned, I'm a biomedical engineer. I'm always building and creating things, you know, to try to solve problems. And I was working full time in the healthcare space when I came up with this idea around, you know, helping to support the hospitality industry with this issue around hand washing and cleanliness upon, you know, seeing over and over again in the news that this was something that people were talking about, you know, billions of dollars in foodborne illness cases, and wanting to be able to create something beyond signs that said employees must wash hands before returning to work. So I decided to invent one. And how that started was me truly just iterating algorithms in my apartment bathroom on nights and weekends. And I taped a bunch of wires to dinner plates and was trying to come up with something that could isolate these core contaminants that were causing these dangerous outbreaks. And once I had a core algorithm created, I just started going door to door to restaurants on my nights and weekends. I'd get up at 6 a.m. on Saturdays and knock on doors till midnight with this dinner plate and say, hey, if I had something that could scan hands to check cleanliness, you know, would that be something you'd be interested in? And when everyone told me I've waited 10 years for something like this to exist, this is the thing that keeps me up at night, you know, that's when I quit my job and sold my car and bought a 3D printer and started building it. So it's been definitely an exciting 3 years in moving far beyond dinner plates to having thousands of units installed, you know, across the country. But it started, you know, with those iterations on early prototypes that we went through thousands of different designs as I was just asking the industry. You know, I think it was a benefit coming in, not knowing anything about how this was going to work effectively, because I just got to ask every single day, you know, what would make this the best process to work across your establishment, and then would stay up all night, build a new version, and come back the next day with a version that did that. So that process for months, you know, really led us to where we are today from that original dinner plate prototype.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. So Corey, when we were speaking, I don't even know when it was. It feels like yesterday. It could have been a week and a half ago. I don't know. But you were sharing with me how Zul has taken, you know, how the culture of Zul really celebrates and empowers the back of house. You know, how you really look out for the back of house, you know, the interests of these individuals. Could you maybe share with us why that's so important, and kind of the genesis behind this, standing up for these individuals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the core thesis of what we try to do in our facilities is, allow the brands to do what they do best, which is cook, and we do the rest. So we've got central washing bays where we actually wash their equipment for them, or we have expediters that run, from the kitchens to the front and hand it off to the dispatch center, where we actually physically manage the dispatch center as well. So if somebody from Uber Eats or DoorDash comes in and says, I'm here for Barry's order, it's actually a Zul employee that's handing it off. So not only do we eliminate the capital expenditure for folks to, launch a new restaurant, per se, but we also scale down their labor model as well, which obviously drives, further sustainable margins for them. But to go back to that community, and what we're able to curate, I've worked in the industry long enough that there's semi-dark culture in the back of house. There's the folks that have unfortunately struggled with whether it's substance abuse or addiction, or, there's the very tragic Anthony Bourdain stories of the world. And I think we've got an incredibly compelling opportunity to paint a better picture, and curate that sense of culture and community inside of our facilities. And it's something that we see every day. And again, we take kind of that unsexy work and just let them do what they do best, which is create, in the kitchen, and we take care of everything else. It's incredibly important to us.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Alan, tell us more about Reef. Reef has many different components to the business, and also tell us about the culture behind Reef as well.
Well, I'll start with the easier question, which is the culture. I would say, I believe very strongly that the culture of any company is a reflection of the founder of that company. And we happen to have an amazing founder in Ari Ohalvo. He founded the company alongside Phillips and Aziz 3 years ago. And he is a very moral and transparent person, and very hardworking, and also very conscientious of values and honor and trust. And so I've never been in an environment that has had such a positive culture and such a moral stance from a business perspective, where we're really focused on doing the right thing and helping people and making the lives of cities better. Whether it's restaurateurs or retailers or healthcare, we aim to help neighborhoods become more sustainable and exciting and positive and fulfilling places to live. Less pollution, less congestion, et cetera. So a little bit, so that's the culture. I think the culture is very positive, but very merit-based and very transparent, which is great. Works for me. Reef itself, what we do is we transform what we call underutilized urban spaces, which very often in our case are parking lots. We currently have about 5,000 locations, into neighborhood hubs that connect people to locally curated goods, services, and experiences. So Reef has, as I mentioned, about 5,000 locations, about 15,000 people, and we are the largest operator of mobility, logistics hubs, and neighborhood kitchens in the United States and Canada, and we have a vast growing presence in Europe as well. So I know this might sound like a lot of technical gobbledygook that I just gave you in terms of what actually we do, but if we have 5,000 locations, we do have 5,000 locations, and we have more density in a city like San Francisco than Starbucks or Wendy's. We're closer to the customer than anyone else is, and so we sell proximity. And that underlying real estate platform enables many other businesses to reach their customers. So theoretically, if you put the 300 most delivered items on Amazon into a parking lot on the Upper East Side, you can deliver those items in under 30 minutes to anyone on the Upper East Side. That's the holy grail of delivery, as you know, Corey. Obviously working with different, logistics providers, whether they're our own logistics or others, you can really, the different systems that enable that have come to life nowadays. And so on another note, the reason we looked at parking lots is because, one, they're in great locations, but two, if you have a parking lot and it's filled with cars, maybe you can make $250 a spot, right? But if you have 10 uses, which is where all real estate is really going now, multi-use and changing usage for what the environment is. If you have 10 usage cases, so neighborhood kitchens, healthcare, experiential, retail, it goes on and on, you could make the profitability of that lot far greater. And then you will increase the value for the operator, which is us. And so one of the, I'd say the most hospitality-oriented business of ours, which is what you would call like your ghost or cloud kitchens, we do things, I think, a little bit different than our competitive set. First off, we already have the real estate. So we have all the real estate. And two, we're closer to the customer with that real estate. Three, we use mobile kitchen vessels. We don't use brick and mortar kitchens. And we operate everything ourselves. So we are actually operating right now a little over 100 kitchens. We'll have 300 by the end of the year and 500 by March. And we are in 20 markets and delivering everyone from, David Chang and Jack's wife Frida to Wendy's. So that's kind of the idea. We really are very much focused on bridging the digital and physical worlds. So our neighborhood hubs are that bridge between what you see in the digital world and how you live in the physical world in this new age that we're in. So that's basically the idea behind what we do.
Alan, thank you. So Greg, Gregory's Coffee has one of the most incredible cultures I've ever experienced in the city, particularly because, look, all of your team members are so welcoming and so friendly. And that has me going back, and actually I go to Gregory's twice a day. I'm kind of an addict to what you can call a regular. How did you build this culture? Thank you. Tell us how you built the culture, and as you've grown since you founded the company, how have you kept that culture so tight from either, the back of house, the team members, as well as the customer side?
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned earlier about, the culture feeds off of either founder or from the leadership. And I mean, everything sort of like the buck stops with me, and it's all of, I practice what I preach, every cliche you can think of, where I just try and be genuine, and I try and be empathetic and compassionate to my team members. And I think because they realize that it's not lip service, and that I mean what I say what I mean. And if I tell them I'm going to help them, I'm there. If same thing, it's two-way street. And I put a lot of myself in the business, and I think there's a lot of respect for me because I do that for them. But I mean, when I started the company, it was all about how are we going to make a place that people want to stay. If I were looking for a job, I would want this to be a place that I would want to sign up for and stick around. My first thing when I was interviewing people was, if I were to meet this person at a bar, would I want to continue a conversation with this person, or would I just kind of toast them their drink and then turn around and move on? And I wanted to have more of those types of people that I want to spend time with. And the more we approach the business like that, you keep getting more and more people that are more likely to be similar to us in one way or another, whether it's being outgoing, friendly, positive, shared interests, whatever it might be. And the more people you collect like that, it feeds on itself, and more people want to be a part of that. And once they get a taste of the culture, I mean, we get so many people that say they've never worked at a place like ours, just because we do put the employees first. We take care of them. We try and support them whenever we can, in whatever way that we can. And it just doesn't feel like I'm just reading off of a manual, or I'm doing things because it's what social media says I should do, or it's the right thing to do. There's plenty of initiatives or procedures or things that I put into place that I don't make public. I just put it in front of the team, be like, this is what we're doing because it's the right thing to do, and we're taking care of you. And not to say we shouldn't, or to say anything against people that post all the good stuff they do online, because we do that from time to time too. But we do it because it's the right thing to do. And our team respects that. And all throughout COVID, you know, they've paid me back and also been like, hey, you know, we're doing the right thing. We protect them. We put things in place to make sure that everybody feels safe. You know, since May, when we relaunched all of our stores, you know, over 30 stores, you know, hundreds of employees been back, you know, thousands and thousands of hours worked. We have 0 community transmissions within our staff. You know, we've only had 2 positive tests, and both were from came from somebody that they were living with. And even those, we had 2 people that had positive results, and no matter when they found out, we still were able to not allow any transmissions between staff members. So, you know, we're proud of all the work that we do, and it's paid us back by having some amazing people that give great experiences, right? It's all about people like you, Barry, that come in twice a day. You don't do that. I mean, I think you do it because you like some of the food, but and the coffee for sure. The iced matcha, I know you like. But you know, there's quality, but more than anything, it's about the people. And if I'm not real with them, and if we're not treating them like real good people, they're not going to treat you and the other, we call them Gregulars. We're not going to treat all the Gregulars like real great people too, and take care of them and treat them like family. So, you know, starts with me, but it ends, you know, they're all an extension of me and the culture that we're trying to create every single day. And it's really great to see, because I get a lot of feedback like what you've said, and the people do feel special when they come in the stores, and that's sort of the goal.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, the iced matcha and the deluxe is my go-to, usually 2 a days.
Yes.
I love how he knows your order.
Yeah, you know,
So awesome.
Greg and the team, I'm telling you, I walk in, they know what I want. It's amazing.
Well, I love, every time I was in New York, I would love, it felt like it was the only place where you could actually do work and had like nice tables and power outlets and stuff too. So I always appreciate that about your spots for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but some people just like to say no. And that's maybe another thing about our culture is I want to say yes to as many things as possible, whether it's for our team or for the guests. And it's, you know, I understand that people want to come to coffee shops and plug in and use their Wi-Fi, and they'll pay a $2 cup of coffee and spend 12 hours and take up your table. And to many people in the industry, that's like, you know, sacrilegious. Like, oh my goodness, you know, I'm not making money on this person. How, you know, they're killing my seating area. But, you know, it starts that whole relationship. But once you start saying no and putting restrictions, it's this whole culture of like, well, we want to tell you what you can't do, instead of, you know, we're going to trust that most people are going to do. There's no right or wrong. Just like make it all work together. And again, I tell my team all the time, like, try and say yes as much as possible, unless somebody's really going out of their way to make things difficult. Really try and get to yes much more often. And when you have that kind of mindset, it winds up working out much more often than it doesn't.
That's awesome. Thank you, Greg. So Greg, back to you. Let's talk about kind of, you know, obviously as a result of the pandemic, many people have left urban areas, have left the cities. For some reason, my wife and I have stayed. That hopefully maybe will be coming to an end. We will see. My question for you, Greg, and kick us off, what do you view as, you know, the future of your business as you see people leaving urban areas? Does Gregory's Coffee maybe have its sights set on other, you know, more residential neighborhoods, or are you still focusing on kind of the commercial or business districts, like the financial district or Midtown, which has, you know, historically been your focus? Where is Gregory's going in the future?
Well, I don't want to sound too much like Jerry Seinfeld, but, you know, I love the show and I love the guy, but I mean, I think the whole idea that New York is dead, I think is completely overblown. I think there'll definitely be a period of time where it won't feel the same. And there'll be some road bumps to get back to a place where people really feel like it is the New York of only 9 months ago, I guess. But I think, you know, with what's going on, for people that are savvy and really forward thinking, it's all about, do you think the world is really coming to an end in the next year or not? You know, and if you could be smart, there's so much going on right now that you can be very opportunistic if you have the firepower to do so. We made a bet like about a year or two ago to diversify the portfolio just generally. So, I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, all of my stores are really concentrated in the dense urban market. So Midtown Manhattan, financial district of Manhattan, you know, even in DC, we're in downtown where all the offices are. So that in normal times, I love having stores in Times Square and Grand Central and whatnot. And now today, it's probably the hardest hit area of the entire country. So maybe not so exciting today. But I do believe, you know, in the long term, we'll be happy we're still in those places. We had been, and we are continuing to look in all sorts of opportunities, be it in the suburbs, adjacent markets. You know, am I super excited to sign like a super dense office centric location today? Probably not. Although that being said, there are things that I see that 9 months ago would have been an outrageous astronomical rent number. And now these landlords are coming to you with, you know, head in hands like, hey, we'll literally give you this space for the next 3 years just to occupy the space and, you know, help with fill up the rest of the building. So there's some really unique opportunities that we've been seeing, things that, you know, are just kind of keeping us on our toes about how we want to think about our real estate strategy moving forward. I do believe that there's going to be road bumps and, you know, until we get to vaccines and people feeling more normal, but this is a moment in time. And I think it's an opportunity for us to kind of strengthen where we were previously weak or not so strong, and flex where we always were strong, which was operating efficiency, convenience, service. All the things that I think are being heightened more now, right? Whether it's making sure you're clean and washing your hands, getting all your A grades on your health inspections, and making people feel really safe and secure during COVID, or those who want to be in and out quickly. You know, we can get you your cup of coffee in a very short amount of time compared to many of our competitors. So we've always been focused on these sorts of things, and it's lent itself fairly well towards the kind of circumstances we're in today. And I think in the future, it'll only be more. People build these habits and they just start to expect these sorts of behaviors. So many people we talk to today that would have never used apps, and they always love paying for cash with their thing. Like, oh, I don't want to have so many apps. I don't want to be paying with I don't trust my identity with all these apps and whatnot. And now they're forced to use it. And they're like, actually, this is really convenient and nice and much smoother. I'm like, well, great. We have that. We've had it for years. It's part of our DNA. And we're excited to have more people into that ecosystem so they can really enjoy the experience like many others can. And I think that's really the long-term direction of where we're trying to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I used to be one of those people. I never used the app until like a week ago, actually. And the first time I used the app, when I checked out, it asked me if I wanted chocolate chip cookies. And of course, I normally would say no, but you got me, Greg. So congratulations. I had that chocolate chip cookie and it was delicious. Let's go to Alan. You know, Alan and Corey. So from a real estate perspective, where are Reef and Zul respectively focusing on, you know, the future of your great brands? Alan, let's start with you.
From a real estate perspective, specifically,
or any perspective you like.
Well, I think it's unique with what's unique with us is that, you know, our real estate is everywhere. As I mentioned, we have almost 5,000 locations in every major urban market in the United States and Canada, growing in Europe. And I would anticipate substantially growing our real estate footprint in all of the markets we're in over the next, 2 and 3 years. Our Reef with 10, 15,000 locations is not definitely out of this world at all. And I think that real estate in general is going to a multi-use setting, which I mentioned earlier. So I think what you're seeing, like we could talk about, office parks coming back or not coming back. There's definitely going to be a difference in the way things are done in the future as they're done now. And so the key, I believe, is setting up a system and an infrastructure that allows for multi-use. If you had an office, that office plate can be turned to residential, and vice versa. And in the case of our parking lots, we can really build out what we would call, nodes, hubs, and parks, where we are, on one side doing more of the, distribution logistics type of things that just serve the neighborhood. On the other side, it's a fully consumer-focused concept that really brings the neighborhood into these spaces. Because on one side, we obviously have a capitalistic intention. We are a for-profit company. But on the other side, what we really want to do is improve the fabric of the neighborhoods through culture and services. And so whether that means art or beautiful buildings or buildings that function better or less congestion, all of these things will make for more sustainable cities. And that those more sustainable cities will make for a more affluent and fulfilled society. So we see ourselves once again as that enabler. And you know, on the real estate side, we did just launch a new property company called the Neighborhood Property Group. That was part of our latest funding round. And so we will continue to expand our real estate footprint.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. So Corey, tell us about, you know, I know that you were telling me about the delivery initiative you guys have, delivering to condos, delivering to office buildings, kind of in one full swoop. Could you share with us a little bit more about this? You know, what are the goals and where is this going?
Yeah, no. You know, I think we're entering almost a new era of delivery, which sounds crazy, but I think when you look at the Grubhub and Seamless and Uber Eats of the world, and that quote unquote on-demand delivery, where one person is ordering one meal from one restaurant delivered by one person, it's actually tough to find a winner in that equation, right? The aggregators are charging the restaurants a ton of money to get that order. The consumer's likely paying a high delivery fee and service fee. The courier's likely underpaid. And the aggregators haven't proven themselves to be cash flow positive either. So it's an incredibly challenging ecosystem that stands in terms of on demand. I think what is incredibly compelling in terms of an opportunity that we have is we can allow folks to order from many restaurants and it get delivered by one person at the same time. So we were very fortunate to bring some technology in-house, and as such have partnered with some of New York City's biggest and heaviest hitting landlords to essentially deliver ultimately to them with a very COVID conscious opportunity or mechanism rather. You take Silverstein Properties, for instance. So we're the exclusive F&B offering for their entire portfolio, which includes the World Trade Center complex. And if you order from Zul, we actually have exclusive access to be able to get through their security to ultimately bring the food up to the actual respective floor. However, if you order from an Uber Eats or a Grubhub or a DoorDash, as that tenant, you actually have to take the elevator downstairs, walk through the lobby and retrieve the package outside. So we're starting to see our technology take off in a big way, which, you know, further drives better margins for our operators. And then there's some interesting things to potentially explore by layering on our technology onto potentially infrastructure that's not ours. You know, so Alan's got a pod up on 18th Street. Can I send him some orders by way of the Silverstein, you know, buildings that are up in Midtown? So a lot of very interesting opportunities, but I think we're very quickly moving into a new era where, you know, Barry, you and your wife can order from different restaurants and it's delivered at the same exact time. And there's a lot of other things we can put into that package as well that we're exploring in a big way. So unfortunately can't give away all my secrets, but you know, we're excited to see where ultimately the industry is being accelerated towards.
I love that. And Corey, I just want to say for everyone listening, I had the pleasure of eating Sarge's Deli last night from 30 Van Dam, and it came with this really cool, you know, some really generous coupons. I had a delicious turkey and Swiss with hot peppers, in case anyone was wondering what I indulged in. Christine, you know, let's go to Christine. I want to find Christine on, here we go. So Christine, tell us about, you know, in terms of the demand you're seeing from your customers, are you seeing that demand? Is it in the restaurant space mostly? Is it in manufacturing facilities? And are you seeing this demand as well in urban areas? Is it more in suburban or rural areas? What do those things look like?
I mean, it's a little bit surreal to be in the business of hand washing right now. You know, we invented this 3 years ago and spent 2 years telling people all about hand washing, all these statistics that are now all over the TV, were things that I was talking about every single day. And then suddenly one day, the whole world was talking about them too. And so it's definitely been an overwhelming, but also really intentional time to be in the business of preventative healthcare and being able to offer hand washing solutions. And it's definitely been a time where we've gotten a ton of enthusiasm and interest across the food service spectrum and beyond as well, with people really turning their attention to hand washing and hygiene and sanitation. And when I really look at the trends across the board, it's not so much location based, it's comment based. It's people telling me they feel more comfortable reopening because they're using our product, or that their employees are citing that they feel more comfortable coming back to work because they can know that sanitation is being taken seriously. Or it's people posting on social media and having customers comment and say, I haven't gone out to eat with my kids in 4 months, but tonight we're going to Dairy Queen because I see what you're doing and that matters to me. And I want to support what you're working on in supporting sanitation for your employees. So those trends are much more common than, one specific area or one specific type of brand, but it's the impact-based component that reminds us and really centers our team. And I say to our team all the time, this is something that can impact all of these different groups, regardless of size, regardless of location, regardless of type of organization. And we take that really seriously. So it's definitely been motivating, but also at times a little bit exhausting to be working on sanitation right now.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So as we come to the end of our time, I want to reflect, Christine, you said something to me on our last call, and I think you put it very succinctly when you said, as a result of this pandemic, look, we go from flying high in a minute to kind of feeling underwater and overwhelmed. As a result of the pandemic, what have you learned about yourself as a leader? Obviously, we've all had a lot of time to reflect and would love to hear from each of you, and starting with Christine. What have you learned about yourself as a leader? And yeah.
I feel like I learn something every minute as we all grow and develop through this. But I think for me, it's really been centered around impact. How do I feel our impact? How do I communicate that impact? And how do I ensure that our team is consistently reminded of and encouraged by that impact-based component?
Awesome, thank you. Greg, how about you? What have you learned about yourself? Any epiphanies you've had, either about yourself on a personal or professional basis?
I don't know if any epiphanies. It's just like, I guess, reasserting how numb I need to be to things sometimes. It's like how much stuff can happen. My dog ran away the other day, and I was like, this can't be real. We found her. But it was like 2020 has just been, how much stuff can we deal with in the same moment? And I think it's really just kind of taking a breath and saying, like, how are we going to prioritize and execute, and just stopping and making sure we don't lose focus. And for me, it's all about just maintaining that focus, because there's just so much work to be done every week. New restrictions, no restrictions, schools, no schools, indoor seating, no indoor seating. In DC, it's not the same as New York. It's not the same as New Jersey. So, maintaining focus and making sure that, we're really just on our A game, so that way we don't miss any opportunities or make any mistakes, and, keep people feeling safe, secure, and positive as much as we can through all of this.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Alan, how about you? Alan, what have you learned about yourself as a leader?
Sorry, I was talking. I was on mute.
I thought so.
So I think leadership has a lot to do with who you are as an individual. And so as you learn more about yourself, you learn more about how you can be a good leader to others. I think that in this case, I've learned that I need less to be happy. I don't need that much stuff and action and be running from here to there and, getting and jumping on planes and doing all that stuff. That's not really what's going to drive my core happiness. And what I do need is to be empathetic to others and to communicate actively with them. And so whether I'm next to my team or I'm seeing them every day through Teams or Zoom or whatever it is, communicating in a meaningful way with each of them individually will yield more results than any bonus or salary increases or whatever it is. That meaning behind the work and that relationship is really where I've been able to get the most out of people in the last year or so.
Thank you, Alan. Corey, how about you?
Yeah, when thinking about this question prior, the quote by Mike Tyson kept coming back up, that everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, and I feel like 2020 certainly has been that. I think there's two outlooks that I try to really instill in our team is, one, to always keep our head on a swivel, and make sure that we're staying open to opportunities. But two, just operating under the mindset that, through hardships is actually an incredible opportunity to breed creativity and innovation. And, some of the things that Greg touched on earlier was, there's a lot of doom and gloom right now, and for very obvious reasons and welcomed reasons, unfortunately. But on the other side of that is just incredible opportunity. And, the industry that we support is really in an intersection now that's going to be accelerated in a pretty big way. And I think that just leads to so many opportunities. And there's, no better time to be an early stage company or startup to really be able to capture that and do, really good in society and make real impacts, across the industry. So it's been a tough year. The highs are highs, the lows are lows, but ultimately taking it one day at a time and keeping your head on a swivel.
Fantastic, Corey. Thank you all, Christine, Corey, Alan, Greg. Really appreciate you all taking the time, teaching us many incredible things, giving us your lessons, telling us about the future of hospitality. We really appreciate it. I want to thank Michael and Entre and the Entre team for helping us put together this incredible event. Really appreciate this and couldn't have done it without you guys. And going to kick it over to Michael for some Q&A and some, Q&A.
Yeah, no, this was great. Thanks so much, everybody. Super interesting. Like, I feel like everyone really vibed well on this panel too, which is awesome. Because sometimes there can be some conflicting things, but I think this was amazing. And a lot of the things that I saw, as far as what people were asking about, kind of hinted on this, but I love everyone to kind of give their maybe predictions, like where they think this is going. Like, I don't know if you want to, you can pick kind of your industry if you want, but what's your maybe predictions for the next 5 to 10 years? Let's just kind of imagine COVID is going to kind of, ease down over the next 6 months and things will get back to normal. What are a lot of people are asking about like predictions for, the next 5 to 10 years, once things kind of calm back down. Whoever kind of wants to jump in on that, I'm curious if anyone has any like specific things that they're excited about or that they see happening, whether it's in their industry or like their specific field, whether it's restaurants or ghost kitchens or whatever, where they see things going, like later on in the future, outside of like the next year or so.
I got one that comes to mind right away is, I think that there's an argument to be made that the digital world, i.e. the world we're living in right now, is more real than the physical world. Not in like some metaphysical way, but where do many people spend most of their time? They're consuming content, whether it's through Instagram or their televisions or Netflix or whatever it is. They're just consuming content all the time. And what I've seen, both in retail and in kitchens and everything, is that when you see it, you want to consume it, you want to eat it. And so this idea of consumable content and connecting content with experience through the digital world, I think is going to be a very big, big part of the future. How do you take, imagine you're watching, Roy Choi on Netflix, and all of a sudden you can order his food in 20 different markets and have it delivered to you in under half an hour. Like, that's just one example of how, you can consume that content. The same thing with the apps in the coffee stores, right? Like I use the Starbucks app all the time. Like it's connecting, it's bridging this digital and physical world in a way that hasn't been done before. And I think these tools are going to continue coming hard and fast and making things much more gratifying at some points and more complex at others, because, every action has a reaction, right? Me and my wife sometimes have great nights together, and then other nights we're sitting next to each other, staring at our Instagram. We're talking through the chat. So, there are negatives to this, but I believe, the human condition is to extract the positive out of it. And I think we're going to find out some really, really cool things, like you would have never imagined the renaissance of delivery that's going on now, 10 years ago.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, go ahead. I thought that was a fantastic point.
I was just going to say, I think more and more people are sort of getting this Amazonification or whatever. Everybody expects things super fast, super convenient, and really custom to themselves. And I think folks like Corey and Alan specifically on this call are like doing God's work here of how do you get more things to more people that it was much more difficult in the past, right? Like, so it's very hard to open a restaurant. It's very expensive to open a restaurant. It's very expensive to open a coffee shop or do all these other things. So how can we sort of make that easier and then democratize by getting it to more people swiftly? It's like, it's very expensive. We haven't figured out all the ways to do it. I think this is going to force our hand, right? I think people are sort of now expecting this level of convenience. So it's going to be hard to all of a sudden go, okay, COVID's over, so now everybody has to go wait in line again. People don't want to do that stuff anymore. It's sort of pushing things further and further into how can we, as operators or as real estate people or as whatever it is, how can we continue to sharpen our tools to get the margins where they need to be and to get people that sort of bespoke experience while also getting it to them very quickly and efficiently. It's not easy, and we're not going to get there right away. But I think the demand is there, and I think the expectation is there, whether it's justified or not. I mean, I think it's just kind of where things need to go, and I think technology is kind of moving at a much faster pace than it ever has, just because it needs to for many of these industries to survive. And I think many of the folks on this call benefit from a lot of the things that are being developed, because it's going to make a lot of the things that have been really hard somewhat easier. And I think the folks who are opportunistic or really forward thinking can kind of take these tools and push them forward much quicker and make amazing things happen that maybe just even a year ago seemed impossible.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say, I think, and this is not really related to hospitality as much as it is to every industry, that, Christine can, I'm sure, talk about how dirty cash is. Cash is filthy. I'm sure the dollar bill I got yesterday from Dwayne Reed was probably touched by 800 people. I don't know, in that week. And I think, as we think about that, I just kind of envision a world where physical money goes away and people pay for things purely on a credit card or purely on a, with some other medium, rather that's just not paper money. This is happening in Sweden. This is happening in Australia. Christine, anything? I'm sure you can maybe talk about how filthy cash is.
I was going to say, I think just across the board, we're going to live in a healthier world. I think that truly a year ago, I would talk to executives, really talented, smart, educated people, and they would say, 20 seconds seems like a long time to wash your hands. I don't know about that. And now there's not a person in the world who doesn't know you're supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds. And so I think that, that's just one example, but really across the board, we as a community are so much more educated about the transmission vectors of illness, about the importance of keeping people safe. I think that in a world post COVID-19, hand washing and masks will still be utilized as tools to be able to keep all of us safe and secure from other illnesses. And I'm really hopeful that, this will be something that helps us stop and prevent illnesses down the road that we don't even know about yet.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point too, because it's funny how the Asian culture was already using masks and stuff a lot. Just normally when you were sick, that was just a fundamental thing that you did, was you just kind of wore a mask. I think a lot of the time they used it because of the pollution over there too. But I think we're entering into just a new and smarter world. And I think COVID kind of helped make us smarter about this stuff, as on top of it. And I think, Alan and everyone's brought up so many good points. And I know, Corey, I think you wanted to say something too about kind of the content or digital thing that Alan was bringing up. I'm not sure if there's anything that you wanted to add on that, but I saw you unmute, so I want to give you the mic too.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. And, I obviously live and breathe and sleep all things delivery, and it's top of mind, all the time. And I think when you really distill what's happening, it's, the online delivery channel is similar to when e-commerce burst onto the scene for retail. Nike wasn't about to start shipping shoes out of their retail. The infrastructure had to change to ultimately support that new channel. So we're still, as crazy as it seems, when you see 700 million being infused into Reef, congrats again, Alan, and some of these other, amazingly high valuations across the ecosystem. The industry is still fairly new. And there's still so much innovation to be had, and really, having an opportunity to be a part of that, and see that is going to be incredibly exciting and help out people across the board. But then I do want to add too, on the other side of this, Alan, something that you touched on earlier was, realizing that less is almost more. I think this is, COVID has, if there's one thing it's done, it's had us just take a deep breath and take a seat. As technology has been more and more a part of our lifestyle, we're all about efficiency and saving time, et cetera, et cetera. And this really forced us to go back home and really dig deep on what's important. And I think that's actually a really beautiful thing. And I think on the other side of this, hopefully that continues to resonate as the world semi gets back to normal.
Yeah, great points there. So we kind of
one thing to what he said, if you don't mind. I think with, like, on the opposite side of that, like, I know some restaurateurs who are, more fine dining or whatever, and those are going to become such like specialized experiences that I feel like when people choose to go out, it's going to be much more of an occasion than it was, because inherently you're like, I might get sick. Like, there's a big risk to doing this. So like, I might not go to, McDonald's, but I might go to this, more fancy restaurant experience for my birthday because I trust them. I know it's going to be, worthwhile, and I'm going to get that much more pleasure out of it, but I'm not going to put myself at risk on a day-to-day basis. So I think the occasion-based portion of the hospitality business is going to be amplified.
For sure. I think it's an interesting comparison too, to like, like the same experience you get with like nice hotels and then like a Motel 6, right? It's like, well, a lot of people aren't going to trust kind of lower quality, establishments, whether that's, I think, restaurants or hotels or whatever. It's like everyone is going to have to operate at a higher standard now across the board, which I think is going to, I think a lot of companies that were, trying to, maybe, cut some corners are going to go out of business. And that that might be what it is, but I think it's going to make the whole industry better as a whole, make the experience better for everybody, as a whole as well. And we kind of opened up Pandora's box here a little bit. I don't want to dive too into it when Barry mentioned, dirty money. And then, we kind of had some people talk about crypto and how this might impact things. And, someone brought up the Better Than a Cash Alliance with Bill Gates, and obviously everything going on with Bitcoin and all of this stuff happening. But even aside from that, it's like Apple Pay, right? And again, Asia, no one really uses cash over there, from what I've understood and heard. And the US is really behind on mobile payments, and we have this whole new, but I think it's going to start coming in this, when COVID accelerated this. But I'd be curious to know, I think New York City especially is really good at mobile pay. Some places that I used to go to, they wouldn't even accept cash. Like, you had to pay with a card. So I'd be curious, like, Greg, what you're seeing with that, or anyone else that wants to chime in on, like, how crypto or even just digital currency is playing into this, and online payments and stuff. I know someone earlier brought up apps, like the Starbucks app and stuff like that too. I'd be curious to dive deeper into that if anyone has anything they want to add.
Yeah, I mean, I was connecting with some folks about potentially using crypto networking to be able to do credit card processing. I mean, you wish you didn't have to pay 4% or 5%, whatever it is, to credit card product, because you stack all of, between middlemen, aggregators, you getting, death by 1,000 cuts, in the credit card one is the one that nobody thinks about. It's like, yeah, well, there's also credit card fees that you wish you didn't have to pay that just to get your own money. So crypto would be fantastic. It just, obviously there's a ways to go to make that work. But there are people, I think, that I've spoken to that are actually trying to develop some of those pipelines to be able to do that. It's just handling the throughput. It's because of the verification and whatnot. Visa or MasterCard can handle millions of transactions a second during peak Christmas, I guess, during normal times. But, crypto at the moment would be very difficult to be able to handle that sort of volume. But maybe they'll get there soon. Yeah, I mean, I would say, just talking about money, I mean, when we started in 2006, it was like 80% cash, 20% card. You see plenty of places that were like cash only. And now we are 50% card, 35% mobile pay, and about 15% cash. So it's completely flipped in the past 15 years. And I mean, the city and most cities are making it illegal to not accept cash. I know many people would prefer to go away with it. I mean, people don't realize we get charged by the bank to go make a deposit. They charge you to make a deposit. They charge you to get coins. They charge you for every visit. So when people don't believe, I'm like, yeah, it actually costs me money to accept cash. Plus, like, fake currency, counting the money. There's so much stuff that's involved. It would make for a much smoother experiences, easier for operations, and much physically cleaner, I guess. I don't have to worry about germs on my credit card, I guess.
I'll add 2 points. So I've been very kind of active in the blockchain crypto space for 3.5 years now. And if there's any owners, operators, brand owners, et cetera, that are considering accepting crypto, there's quite a few companies that are really doing amazing work in the space. So Greg, if you're interested, happy to connect you. There's like, MobiPay. I mean, there's Plasma, there's, Cody. I mean, there's a ton of companies doing great stuff. So happy to, Brian Zisk says BitPay, which I think if you pay in crypto, automatically converts that senders, assets into whatever currency you want to accept. The second point I'll make is, obviously we're very, very busy at Elliot from a human capital perspective. And, a lot of the owners and operators we work with say to us, hey, Barry, we're looking for, whether it's a chief marketing officer or a COO or a CFO or whatever, all these brands are looking for that next generation talent that are really accepting and excited about technology. Maybe they themselves don't understand it, but that's fine, because look, I mean, we all have cell phones. I don't know how exactly the thing works, but it works. We don't question it. I don't know how my dishwasher works 1,000%. I know that it's hooked up to some, whatever, but we still use our dishwasher. So, we don't have to know exactly how the tech works for us to want to use it. So
For sure. I just dropped, by the way, everyone who stuck around till the end here. I just dropped everyone's info, just their name and company website and everything in the chat here. If you want to follow up with anyone, about any of this stuff, I just wanted to throw that out there too. But if anyone else wants to add anything to that real quick, and then we can kind of get into wrapping things up. I just want to be aware of everyone's time. We have 10 minutes left here. So we had some other questions come in. If no one wants to add anything else to the crypto or online mobile pay stuff, we can move on to the next question. Okay, sweet. So the next one was, how important is knowing your customer going into 2020?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Really, really pertinent. It's all about meeting that customer's needs and anticipating what they probably want is what I would say, but I'll leave it to the experts.
Yeah, I'd say misreading your customer today is tragically tragic for you. There's just so few customers. We're working at a fraction of what we would normally see. So making sure you're really catering to what your customer wants today. I mean, we've made a number of pivots, whether it's our menu, our layouts, or how we interact with our guests or communicate with them, and trying to continue to innovate to what the guests are looking for and craving, and even very specifically, there's been a lot of businesses that haven't reopened, and there's a lot of types of concepts that we're serving a certain purpose in the market that aren't there, much fewer of them. So there's this new opportunity to acquire some different market share. So we've been continuing to evolve, and I think really understanding the customer needs and wants out there is absolutely critical. I mean, it's always critical, but now even more than ever, just because every dollar counts and every guest makes that really big impact for you, that it's just crucial.
For sure. I think that's huge. And yeah, to this point too, if anyone wants to add in suggestions or tips, strategies on how they, get more customer data, even to understand what they want, or if anyone has any tips on that too, whether it's asking questions or surveys or how do they get feedback, I think that would be helpful for people too.
We are just allowed to chime in.
Well, I don't know who. Oh, was that somebody from the audience?
Brian Larry?
Yeah, I asked the question. I'm the one who asked the question.
Oh, Brian. Okay. Yeah. Is there something that you wanted to add to the question?
Yeah. One of the things that I'm focused on right now is understanding everything there is to know about a business's customers, especially in the hospitality space. I think that businesses forgot that they needed to understand who their customers were, and they just kept building and selling things. And then when 2020 hit, it's like, oh shoot, who are my customers? How do I get a hold of them? Social media is not working, billboards isn't working, radio isn't working. How do I connect with my customers? So I've spent the last 4 years of my life literally trying to figure out that. And so I make sure that when I talk to people that you have to ask questions, you have to communicate with your customers, you have to surveys, you have to get in-house reviews, you have to have all that kind of information, because otherwise you're relying on third party, you're relying on Yelp and all the other things like that to move forward. And that's actually killing businesses right now. While Yelp is, multi-million-dollar company, I mean, it's still killing people. The bad results, the good results, that type of information hurts a business. But if a business can get it in-house, there's a ton of value there. So I just wanted to make that comment, is that know your customers.
Yeah, and I think interesting.
I just say nobody leave 1-star reviews on Yelp during COVID. It's just it's inappropriate.
Person who
I
likes
got a 1-star review because we didn't have a bathroom, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is really just we're not allowed. Sorry.
I don't think any business owner I've ever met likes Yelp. It's just it's not helpful for them. But I think reputation is interesting. I don't know if anyone wants to add on to that, what he brought up there with it, or anything else related to customers or understanding your customers before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think there's a tendency to overcomplicate the idea of knowing your customers. I think in this type of environment, and most environments, but definitely now where things have definitely shifted focus, I think value and trust are what's really important right now. I think you have to deliver a lot of value to people because they have less money to spend, and you have to be trusted as a provider. And if you break the trust or you don't provide value, you're kind of screwed. And in terms of knowing your customer in a world where I think I would once again argue that the digital world is somewhat more real than the physical world because you're not seeing people in the same way you were before. The beauty of the digital world is that you have tools to actually know your customer. You can see what your customer likes and what your customer doesn't like, and you can do that in real time. And to be honest with you, the problem that I've seen in most businesses is most people don't know how to use those tools. And so we talk a lot about how it's a digital world and everyone's going to move to these digital platforms, but the majority of people have no idea how to serve an ad to a customer or send an automated email thanking them for signing up to your website and all of those things. So yeah, you got to know your tone, you got to know your stuff, but you got to execute. You got to pay attention to the details that really exist and are easy to access from basically everyone. They're not expensive. They're democratized platforms that everyone can have access to if they do the work.
Yeah, Alan, you make a great point, and I want to piggyback on what you said. I guess the irony in all this, we're all like quarantining, whatever you want to call it, but ironically, we've never been closer together. We've never been more interconnected, I would assert. And look, to your point, Alan, about living in a digital world, most of us, I get a lot of my news on Twitter. I don't really get my news from the traditional sources just because I don't really trust them, which is kind of sad to say. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And even as we get into this world of, virtual reality, alternative reality, the Oculus or Google Glasses or whatever, just imagine where the world our kids are going to grow up in 5, 10, 15 years. It's going to be absolutely astounding.
Yep.
For sure. Corey, did you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, back to the data piece. I think, and again, I bring it back to the restaurant space, so I apologize. But, you look at any semblance of innovation that's happened over the last decade has actually happened off the backs of the operators. When you look at the data is held so closely to the chest of the Grubhubs of the world, of the Uber Eats of the world, et cetera. And I almost think, any new innovation that's coming out really has to have the stance of allowing, kind of that data curation to be at the disposal of the actual operators. And I think, there's a multitude of reasons why they don't, but I think there's an opportunity to create such a valuable ecosystem where you can be transparent with the data and give the tools to operators to help put their best foot forward. So yeah, I think there's a lot of awareness right now about kind of the predatory practices that we've seen across the industry over the last decade or so, and I think we're going to start to see that rectified.
Yeah, I think that's super fascinating, and I totally agree. I think there's so many industries that are transforming as we speak right now. So this is obviously one of them. So I'm super excited about where this is going. And as we wrap up here, Barry, I don't know if you want to say any final thoughts, but I'd love to have everyone kind of go around, say, any final pieces of, advice, thoughts around, the topic of future of hospitality, and then where can people find out more about each of you and your companies as you guys continue to grow and scale successful businesses here.
Yeah, I guess I'll just start off and say first, Michael, thank you and your team. This was an incredible event, certainly the first of many we'll do together, which I'm very excited about, as are the rest of Team Elliot. I think that the future of hospitality is being built by these 4 innovative and exciting brands on our panel. They're at the forefront of hospitality, technology, the customer experience, cleanliness and safety and sanitation. And, you know, the world's going to change very quickly. We're going to see a lot of new unicorns emerge, especially in this world, in this realm. As far as, you know, finding us, you could find us at theelliotgroup.com. My name is Barry Herbst. You could add me on LinkedIn. You could add me on, you know, I'm not on MySpace, but I'm on basically every platform there is. So feel free to be in touch. Looking forward to meeting with everyone in the audience. And I will pass the proverbial ball to Christine. Ladies first.
Thanks for the great conversation, everyone, today. I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of this. And I think, you know, it's because of conversations like this and being able to work with people like all of you and those of you on this call that we're able to build a healthier and safer world in the hospitality industry and beyond. And those are the things that make me really excited. Definitely feel free to check out our website. It's pathspot.com, or, you know, any of our social channels, or add me on LinkedIn. Would love to give you all a virtual demo and one day in the future, scan everyone's hands.
Don't all jump at once, guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Call us out.
Yeah, no, again, thank you all for, sorry about that. Thank you all for having me today. And again, very honored to be on the panel with you guys. Similar to Barry, you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all the above. Typically just my name is the handle, and then Zul Kitchens as well. So thank you again, though. Appreciate it.
Let's go to Greg.
Sure. Yeah. Again, echoing everyone else, thank you. This was great. Love talking about hospitality. Love being around other sharp and smart people. So this is really exciting. You can find us at gregoryscoffee.com. I don't know if anybody here indulges, but we've recently pushed into TikTok. You could find us at Gregory's Coffee on TikTok. Might see me debuting as a Spice Girl in one of the videos. Yeah, LinkedIn. My Instagram is mostly my kids and me drinking coffee, so not that exciting, but Gregory's Coffee Instagram, a little bit more exciting. Yeah, the handle is at Gregory's Coffee on any of those social platforms. I'm just my first and last name on LinkedIn or any of those other platforms.
We'll have to connect on TikTok, man. We've been doing a bunch of stuff on there. It's been one of our best channels lately, and we have we're connected to a lot of influencers on there, especially in like the business entrepreneur, you know, kind of ecosystem. So happy to introduce people if they're trying to do some marketing and stuff on TikTok. We can definitely make some things happen there for sure.
Definitely helps me connect with the team, and they, you know, when I can act like a little kid with them, they appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm the voyeur of TikTok. I can only watch it. I can't figure out how to actually post anything. But it's really amazing to watch. It's one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen, honestly. But from my side, just quickly, I would just say two things. Within chaos lies opportunity, and within challenges lie character. So we have an opportunity to kind of, you know, set the future of our industry and, you know, do it in a way where we take care of all the people who have, you know, taken care of us for many, many years, the backbone of our industry, all these hospitality workers who have, you know, had to go through these tough times. And at Reef, we are here to accelerate positive change and improve the future of our neighborhood. So we are here to help. And anyone who's interested in learning more about Reef or just connecting with me for any questions, I'm happy to help and speak to you at any time. And you know, maybe you can come and maybe join the ship, see where we're going. It's going to be a hell of a journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Thank you to all of our amazing panelists. Tonight's been great. Michael, thank you again.
Sure. And Alan, congrats, by the way, on the recent funding round. You guys just, what was it, like 700 million or something you guys just did?
Yeah, we raised a significant round of funding for both our ongoing operations and the creation of a new real estate property company.
Amazing. Yeah, congrats. And congrats to everyone. I mean, you guys are all doing amazing stuff. And I was so pumped when Barry was telling me how we were getting all these speakers and stuff. So thank you so much for being here and taking the time. I know everyone's super busy and there's a million things going on running businesses and whatnot. So we really appreciated having you. I also dropped a link. We will have the replay up at some point, hopefully within the next 24 hours or so on YouTube. If anyone came in late or they had to jump off, we probably won't be hearing this if you jumped off early. But for those of you who came in late, if you want to watch the whole thing or listen to it again, it will be up on our YouTube as well. And yeah, thank you, Barry. If you want to say any final pieces and anything else about Elliot before we wrap up.
Elliot is excited to help you find your next capital, human capital, C-level executives, board members, VPs, directors, help find those individuals to take your amazing brands into the future across all consumer and technology realms. We're here 24/7. We don't sleep except from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Please let us sleep then. Really appreciate it. The baby likes to get up at 3 a.m., so that's perfectly convenient. And just want to thank everyone again. You guys are all rock stars. Thank you to our amazing audience, to Michael and team, to Christine, Corey, Alan, and Gregory. Really appreciate you all. And almost happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey. It'll put you to sleep. I know,
Yeah.
I know that.
And it's reeftechnologies.com. Someone was asking about, I believe that's it, right?
Reeftechnology.com.
Reef Technology.
That's why.
In the chat, yeah.
There's only one technology. We have nothing else other than this one technology.
And I dropped all the speakers info and websites and stuff in the chat if you scroll up a bit. And thanks so much. This was great. And Barry and his team, they have a huge network of people, and they know a lot of people in the startup and business ecosystem, and especially in hospitality. So definitely reach out to him and their team. And I know that they don't sleep because Barry and I have had some conversations and emails that have definitely been outside of business hours. So they get after it, that's for sure. But I think that wraps things up. Thanks everyone so much. This was amazing. If anyone has any questions, anything else they want to get involved, I'll drop my email in here as well for people if they want to reach out or get involved with our events or network in any way. But this was awesome. Have a great rest of the week. Happy holidays to everyone that's coming up if I don't see you or we don't connect online somehow. But this was awesome. Thanks so much, everybody, and take care. Have a great week. Bye now.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.